Welcome to the Eclectic Thrifter and Crafter, where we thrift and craft with purpose. It's Tea Tuesday, or in my world, Crafty Tuesday. Pour yourself a cup of tea, and we're going to take a look at some fine miniature work by subscriber Diane, which inspired today's project, and we're going to pop it in the mail to her in just a few days. This delightful room box is simply a joy to look at. Diane's little character for her room box is a monster hunter, and that has inspired today's project. This is so sweet, and look at all the details that she's put into it. Absolutely wonderful. A lot of work. I'm very, very impressed and inspired. Thank you, subscriber Diane, for sharing this room box with me. Today's journey into miniatures is going to begin with a cup of thistle tea. And we're going to get started. We're going to begin making a prototype with craft sticks. We've got finishing paste wax, a handy dandy hand drill for sanding and detail work, a little dab of wood glue, files, Q-tips just in case, toothpicks, always use something a little fancy, makes the table look pretty, and of course our homemade jig made from a cookie tin. This little item is very handy to have around. Our project today is going to be a hinged box. This is a little hinged jewelry box, 1/12 scale, that my friend Lisa's sister Chrissy sent to me with this box full of doll items. I've never made a hinged box before, and this has special hinges on it, so it's going to be a challenge, hence the craft stick prototype. I am glad I made a prototype for this project because it gave me an idea of how to make a similar item down the road. The furniture wax is for the items that go inside the box. I'm going to cut some extra pieces in case I need to make a second one, because craft sticks, as fun as they are to work with, they are somewhat delicate and they will split. So it's always good to make a couple extras as you're going along. As you can see, one of the squares up there is already split. It takes just a few minutes to get all the pieces ready to go, and then we're well on our way. We're going to glue the prototype together and let it dry, and then while we're drying, we're going to make the contents for the inside of the box. I love trying new things, and this particular hinge was very interesting to learn how to do. And I could only do it by looking at this little box that I was given and give it a try on my own. And I think I was somewhat successful. While the top and the bottom part of the box are drying, we're going to move on to the contents. We're going to try and work within this square. That's roughly the size of the box, and we're going to work within that parameter. This is our little Humpleman. He is 1/12 scale. I just want to make sure that the contents of the box is going to be suitable for his scale. It should not take you too long to figure out what I am making. We're going to start off by using this cross as a model. I am pretty sure I'm going to have to sand it down, but this is just the perfect size to start. One can always make things smaller, but you can't make them bigger. I thought it best to construct these little items out of solid pieces of wood rather than craft wood, so I'm using 1/4 inch plywood that I've been using for the dollhouse. Once the prototype is complete, I'm going to be transitioning to using 1/4 inch plywood to do the final piece. In the meantime, I have used my little saw. I've cut off all the primary corners, and then I'm going to go ahead and file it down with the rotary tool. I love my little rotary tool. It comes in handy on the workbench. But most of all, I find that having emery boards handy is really important to a small workspace. It was nice this weekend to take a couple of days to do something different, and I'm back to work out in the garage and moving forward. For this little part, I'm going to cut out the main body of the piece. Then I'm going to glue small scraps of wood to each side. We'll set it aside to dry and get a little more work done. We're going to use this beautiful little square bead, it's down at the bottom, and a little head pin to make a little glass bottle. The top of the head pin will be the little lid to the bottle, and I'm going to use crazy glue to secure the pin inside the bottle. Our prototype is now dry, and as you can see, I've drilled 2 holes. These are for eyelets that I'm going to be using to form the hinges. Next, I have to determine how deep into the spine of the lid of the box I need to saw in order for the eyelets to rest securely inside the spine for a pin to run through to hold the lid and the box together. I also need to determine that there's going to be enough space with the little hinges so that the lid can open nicely. So here we are with our little prototype, and you can see the pin goes in and out between the little eyelets. In order for that pin to move in and out, I had to cut a channel in the spine of the box for the pin to rest nicely. Then I sealed that little channel with a piece of wood. Next, I'm going to cut the pin just slightly smaller than the width of the box, and I'm going to poke that in there, and it'll be all hidden and ready to go, and the pin shouldn't come out. So this is the prototype, and I have a good idea of how I am supposed to do this. So we're going to move on to the final piece that I've made out of more solid and secure alder wood. These are from paint sticks that I use for crafting. These are the little eyelets I'm using for the hinges. They're very, very tiny. They're only about 1/4 inch long. Between segments, I did take this down to the garage and I did sand all the corners and edges nice and smooth, because I'm going to be adding veneer to the outside of the piece so none of the seams show. See how crooked it is? All that has been sanded down smoothly. That is how deep I have to cut into the wood in order for the eyelets to rest for the hinges. I'm going to connect the lid to the base of the box with the pin. It should go right through. And now I'm going to veneer the box. I'm going to cover that little bit in there with a slight piece of veneer just to hold the pin in place. The box will be lined with the velvet that you see here. In the end, I opted for a very minimal piece of wood right down the center. The box has been sanded nice and smooth, so now we're going to add the veneer. I have my little iron on high because I want to have a little scorched effect on the wood. I am going to be staining it, so I'm just kind of experimenting as I go along. I'm cutting down the center because I've veneered one solid piece onto the seam. I've put a coat of stain on the box and I've let it dry, and now we're going to put the lining in. I've attached some velvet with double-sided tape to a small piece of cardboard from a cracker box. Now we're going to put some double-sided tape on the other side and fit it right into the box itself. We're going to do the same thing with the lid. And then we're also going to add little bits of velvet around the sides of the lid and the body of the box. We're approaching the last few steps. Little bits of velvet are going in. And now it's time to load the box with all its little treasures. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please like and subscribe. Share my thrifting and crafting channel with your thrifting and crafting friends. I welcome your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. Check us out on Instagram and tap that notification button for upcoming announcements of thrifts and crafts. But most of all, have a lovely, lovely day.